We've all watched this unravel in real time, and you've asked the same thing we have. Why did William shut down after Meghan's direct approach? We're not here for fairy dust. We're here for the whispered truth. Today, we talk as insiders and fans. What a boundary means inside that family, why the ask hit like a legal grenade, and how it turned private tension into a public Cold War. Is this a professional connection or a strategic flirtation? Tell me your theories. Here's where it all starts to crumble. One direct request that insiders say landed like paperwork served at a family dinner. Sources say Meghan skipped the safety net.
No ads.
No comms team. She went straight to William with a high-stakes ask that would need access, approval, or intervention. Things the firm usually filters through layers. Fast track. Top billing. No waiting room. And yes, that's where the temperature spiked. William, we're told, read it as a boundary breach. The royal machine runs on handlers. You don't DM the heir for a green light. You don't test the firewall with a personal phone call. Personal channels felt like a backdoor. And in that world, backdoors are red flags. Think corporate board rules. No junior exec emails the chair to greenlight a rebrand. Same energy, higher stakes. Because when you hit the top office without process, you don't just ask for help. You ask for a signature on your future. Protocol watchers warn that direct appeals risk conflicts of interest. That chain of command isn't decorative. It exists to keep senior royals neutral when family overlaps with projects, causes, or, let's be honest, brand building. Break the chain, and everyone in the room becomes part of the story, not the solution. Now frame it like a courtroom. Procedure protects everyone. You file, you hear, you rule. Skip steps, and the verdict turns political. In palace terms, that means headlines that write themselves, loyalties questioned, and decisions that look like favoritism, not service. Insiders point to the usual guardrails: NDAs to shield early-stage plans, reputational risk when a project flames out, and donor optics when a royal's name sits too close to anything that spends money like a startup but wants charity credibility. Senior heirs avoid endorsements without heavy vetting because one photo can function like a stamp, and stamps can't be scrubbed. So, what was the substance of the ask? People close to the dynamic frame it this way. She wanted William's personal blessing and his active help. Not a vague nod. A signal. The kind that blurs lines between family and brand, between courtesy and commitment. Once he's in, he's on the record. And once he's on the record, the crown's firewall is compromised. Here's the mini payoff. The wording doesn't matter as much as the category. It was a fast-track endorsement request. A push to place William visibly and personally beside her trajectory before the palace machine did its due diligence. That's the risk zone. That's where reputations get radioactive. And that is why the heir went cold. The ask wasn't a calendar slot. It was an alignment. A move that would hitch an heir's public credibility to a private rollout. The dream, it's cracking. But now that the glitter has worn off, what's left? We need to unpack why this landed as a personal betrayal, not just a process foul, and why duty, for William, reads louder than any pitch.
That's so true. But you know what? When I read this, I thought, is Queen Camilla the most reasonable royal? I mean, if this is true, I imagine King Charles's health is her main concern. He has cancer. Harry and Meghan do not make his life easy these days. I can see her trying to protect her husband. But whether or not there's any real scheme in the mix, I doubt she's going that far, but I'm sure she is saying, you know what, pump the brakes and let's see whether or not we can actually trust these two who've proven to be entirely selfish over the last 5 years.
The woman who thought she was stepping into a modern-day fairy tale met a wall. William's code isn't written in Instagram captions, it's written in duty. Look, William ranks duty above everything. Family comes next. Brand trails behind. When a direct ask presses him, it drags him toward a political field he refuses to enter. That's his North Star. Not glamour. Not hype. Service. And when the request bypassed the filters, he heard risk. Immediate. Personal. And loud. Insiders claim he read the move as a power play. Skip the process. Capture the prince. Get the heir on tape. And your rollout looks royal-proofed. Once his name or face sits near a launch, he can't walk it back. The optics weld to him. That's the trap. And he's trained to spot the trap first. Think of a general asked to sign a peace deal before the diplomats even show up. The signature becomes the story. Not policy, not context, just the pen stroke. Symbolic, irreversible, and loaded. That's what a direct, personal nod from William would do. It would lock him into a narrative he didn't shape. Here's where the rulebook kicks in. Royal neutrality isn't a suggestion, it's armor. The closer you are to the throne, the heavier the armor. Senior heirs offer fewer public endorsements than working royals further down the line because neutrality protects the institution from being dragged into campaigns, causes, or commercial storms. That scarcity is intentional. It signals impartiality. And the media risk is brutal. One photo becomes a headline. One headline becomes a campaign. A 2-second clip turns into a trailer for someone else's brand story. That's how the internet works. Algorithms crown a narrative, and the crown becomes the narrative. If the perception turns to partiality, the brand is toast. Not her brand, his. Experts warn about reputational exposure when royals brush against commercial narratives. It's sponsorship optics, who benefits, who cashes in, who looks compromised. It's charity crossovers, where a good cause is used as cover for a rollout, triggering the no favoritism rule. The firm doesn't like blurred lines, because blurred lines invite accusation, and accusations stick. So here we are, family meets PR strategy, and collides. William guards the firewall with military precision. Meghan runs the modern playbook, speed, visibility, viral momentum. Both strategies can work until they touch. Then it's friction, sparks. And if you're the heir, you don't play near sparks. Sources say he cut it off fast. Not cruel, tactical. The shutdown reads like coldness if you want the green light. But from his angle, it's containment. He keeps the throne out of a storyline he didn't authorize. He keeps himself out of a PR arc that can't be scrubbed once it trends. That's not punishment. That's protocol doing its job. And now the twist everyone's been waiting for. Where did Kate stand in this? And why did this become the point of no return for the brothers?
Prince William will ban his disgraced uncle Prince Andrew from royal life and his coronation as king. That's a big deal, Kinsey.
Yeah, and the Daily Beast is actually taking this story even further, saying Prince William will strip Prince Andrew along with all other non-working royals of their HRHs and princely titles when he ascends to the throne. Meghan and Harry will see their dukedoms and HRHs formally revoked, according to the Daily Beast, by Prince William, then King William.
Out of nowhere, a private boundary became a public iceberg because Kate's line is the line William won't cross. Kate runs on controlled engagement, slow trust, protocol first. Her guidance moves like chess, not checkers. She trims anything that invites messy optics that can't be scrubbed once they hit a feed. That's not cold. That's survival inside a brand that can't afford improvisation. Insiders claim she flagged the trap early. A personal endorsement sets a precedent. Yield once, and the door stays open. Requests don't stop. They multiply. The firm hates repeat liabilities because precedent becomes policy, and policy becomes exposure. That's how risk travels. Think of it like opening a secure vault. Once the codes circulate, security isn't personal anymore. It's compromised for the entire system. You can change a lock, but you can't recall the copies already out there. That's what a soft yes from William would be, codes in the wild. Royal watchers point out Kate's quiet power in keeping guardrails tight around their office. She curates projects with a narrow lens. Impact, longevity, clean optics. You rarely see her tied to anything with fuzzy funding, shifting partners, or a commercial scent. That's a track record, not an accident. It's her case file for why restraint wins. Here's the brothers' dynamic in real terms. They've functioned like a coalition for years. Mutual trust is the currency. When a third party's agenda enters the room, the market reacts. If one brother looks captured by a side deal, confidence drops. The market crashes. Recovery is slow, And interest rates, resentment, surveillance, leaks go up. There's also the culture clash nobody wants to admit. American directness favors the direct call, the quick coffee, the instant alignment. British institutional patience favors memos, minutes, and meetings with handlers who speak in paragraphs. When those two speeds collide, both sides misread intent. One sees momentum, the other sees a breach. That gap, that misread, fuels feuds. So, why do insiders call this the point of no return? Because the ask forced a binary choice, governance or brotherhood. William could protect the firewall, or he could prioritize family access. In a world built on precedent, choosing family would ripple far beyond one project. It would rewrite everyone's playbook. Kate's stance gave William cover. More than that, it handed him a script. Clear, repeatable lines about process, neutrality, and timing. He could say no without adding heat. He could close the vault and call it policy, not personal. Mission accomplished. But let's not pretend the bill was free. The personal cost was steep, and the chill didn't stay inside the room. And that brings us to the last loose end. Before we dive into what this means long-term for outsiders who join the ranks and try to bend the rules, we need to close the loop on how this single ask recast Meghan's role inside the palace narrative, and why the whispers hardened into a label she can't easily shake.
We've seen Meghan continue to use her HRH despite being ordered not to do so by the late Queen Elizabeth II. And they say that Prince William's own children will have their titles informally parked until they become adults and decide for themselves if they want to be full-time working royals or lead lives as private citizens. But you know what? I'm all about it. I'm ready for some courage, some strength, and some stability in the monarchy. No offense to King Charles. He seems like a very nice guy, but Prince William seems to have, some backbone that I'm really looking forward to.
So here's the final read. The ask wasn't about access. It exposed a fault line, family ties versus the firm's firewall. Once that line showed, the rift hardened. Each move since has been damage control, not reunion. Think of a bridge with a cracked beam. Traffic slows, inspectors swarm, and no one trusts the wait anymore. Now you. Do you think Meghan overstepped or William overreacted? Do you think William owes Meghan an apology? Kindly let us know in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The world is watching. The whispered truth keeps echoing. And the next move won't stay quiet.